Canada's fate is sealed, but it may not be what you think it is. Let's talk about that. I'm Max Penner, and this is Roughneck Radio. Now, before I begin, I'd like to encourage you to like and subscribe to never miss another video. And if you don't like the video, that's fine. You can dislike it as well and just do one of those things. And if you like the video too, make sure to subscribe because I will be making political videos for a while. And if you don't want to miss them and you want to hear about topics like the one in this video, make sure to subscribe. I've got a pretty interesting one coming out very soon on separation, so you might not want to miss that. And you can now follow us on Rumble. Yes, I have a Rumble account now. And there will be exclusives on there, and I will upload it in case YouTube decides to delete this channel or it gets taken down for some weird reason. So the videos are kind of archived in a way. And you can also follow all my socials on this side of the screen, right here. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Now, I do want to note that all this information is relevant to August 12th, 2025 and before it, because that's when this video was recorded. And there was actually something new that came up today that could tie into one of my sections that China has, I think they've jacked the canola tariffs, the canola oil tariffs. So that could see more conservative surge in the polls. Because of Carney's lack of action on that front. Anyway, now that that's out of the way, we can begin. Alright, as you may know, the Liberal Party of Canada won a fourth term, which turned out to be their third straight minority.
Vision desk, we are projecting now a Liberal minority government, a Liberal minority government. They will not, we don't anticipate, cross the threshold of 172 seats, setting up a fascinating dynamic over the coming days.
If you don't know what a minority government means, it's when a party doesn't have the majority of the seats in the legislature but still forms government. The seat count needed for a majority in our parliamentary system is 172 seats. Total amount of seats in the House of Commons is 343. The Liberals won 169 out of 343 seats, and the Conservatives won 143 out of 343, soon to be 144. The other parties don't really matter much at this time, but they will shortly. Now that we got the explanations out of the way with, let's talk about what this spells out for our near future. As the Liberals won another minority, this spells out trouble in the letters of confidence motion. You see, as this is a minority government, it makes it harder for the Liberals to pass laws and bills without buy-in from the opposition. You see, if they had 172 seats or more, this would be a lot easier because they could override all of the votes. And now, in our case, they can do this by teaming up with some opposition parties, but it'd be tough for them to do due to the agenda they want to push. But I'm not entirely sure how the NDP stands right now because they don't have an official leader, but I will get into that further in just a moment. You see, opposition parties like the Conservatives have an ace up their sleeve. If they don't like the way the government is taking the country, and this is reflected in public opinion, they can do something called a confidence motion, or a motion of non-confidence. What this does is if the majority of the parties vote no confidence in the government, Parliament automatically falls, and we enter an election cycle. This is what cratered administrations such as the Paul Martin administration and the Joe Clark administration.
Yeas pour 139, 139. Nays contre 133, 133.
Ordinary hour of adjournment only with the consent of the House. Does the House consent? Right Honourable the Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise on a point of order. The government has lost a vote on a matter which we have no alternative but to regard as a question of confidence, and I simply want to advise the House that I will be seeing His Excellency the Governor General tomorrow morning.
It was, of course, on the slipperiest, slushiest, iciest day of the season in Ottawa that a winter election suddenly became a reality. Inside the House of Commons, history was being made. Just 17 months into Paul Martin's first elected government, and it was set to become Canada's first ever federal government to fall on a simple vote of no confidence from the opposition. The end came quickly.
That this House has lost confidence in the government.
Mr. Harper, Monsieur Duceppe, Mr. Layton, Mr.
Martin, of course, voted against the motion. But in the end, it wasn't even close. Martin's minority Liberals had lost.
Yeas pour 171, 171. Nays contre 133, 133.
The voting date will be announced tomorrow, but it's expected to be January 23rd, allowing candidates to break for the holidays.
And this may happen soon to the Carney admin, sooner than we actually think. Now, this would not happen this year, however, due to the instability of the House. For some real-world examples will be Poilievre not being there, Poilievre not having a seat in the House yet, and the NDP not having an official leader, so that makes that unstable. But I do expect it to happen either next year or the year after. Now, the reason behind this is we are already running a $90 billion deficit with absolutely zero budget. And that's just one reason, but a very big one at that. There's also their disastrous foreign policy decisions that reflect those of the nations Carney lived in for most of his adult life, which is not the way we run our country over here. Over there is a fairly big anti-military stance and a more woke approach to foreign policy, which is what the Liberal government has been doing here for the past decade. They're also dangerously lenient on the stance of immigration, which is another deciding factor on their public opinion and attacks directed to them in the House. Overall, Carney is in a natural honeymoon period in public opinion at the present time, but it's quickly waning due to their disastrous nation-breaking decisions. And if you look at the latest Abacus data poll, I'm not saying they're completely accurate. None of the pollsters really are. There are a few, but the Liberal support is dropping slightly. Just saying. So for this, I would say there will most likely be a confidence motion in mid to late 2026 or early 2027. Either way, Carney won't actually last more than one term, I don't think, because people will see how much of a disaster he's being, and we just need to get Pierre back in the House, and then people will remember where they truly stand. Trudeau may be gone, but the Liberal bureaucratic machine isn't, and it'll be over soon for them. Now let's talk about the man himself. The man, the myth, the legend, Pierre Poilievre. As you may know, he lost his seat in Ottawa in this election, but that won't stop him. He came out west here and is now running in the riding of Battle River Crowfoot. Now, critics see this as a move of weakness because it's the safest conservative riding in the nation. Damien Carrick won it by 82.8% of the vote. Now, this stance by critics is a little hypocritical because of what Carney did in Nepean. They took a candidate from the riding that had held it for a decade and turfed him so Carney could run in it because of how safe the riding was. Damien Carrick did resign by choice, however, because to attend to his family farm and to give Pierre a seat in the House. Now, Damien Carrick will be back probably by the next election, but for the time being, it'll be Pierre representing the riding in Battle River Crowfoot. Now, you may have heard of one candidate, Bonnie Critchley. Contrary to popular belief, she is not doing well in the riding. She has more liberal views and is barely even campaigning other than a few videos online and the party debate that happened recently. And the only support she really has is with the mainstream media and down east. In the actual riding, Pierre still has over 72% of support. I do feel Pierre will win the riding overwhelmingly, however, but it won't be the exact same as Kirk won it by, because by-election turnouts are strange and they're not voting for the next prime minister over there, they're just voting for their next representative. So Pierre could get a bit less of the vote than Mr. Keurig did, but overall, Pierre will blow Critchley out of the water and win the riding with an overwhelming margin. Now, once Pierre does win the by-election, that's when business begins. When he's back in the House, I expect him to put a formidable fight up against Carney. I'm not saying that because I'm a Poilievre fan. I'm saying this because Carney absolutely sucks at debating, especially under pressure. Also, don't forget, Pierre was the main reason Trudeau resigned.
That I'm sharing with you today. I intend to resign as party leader, as prime minister.
And with Carney, I think it'll be a lot easier. I feel because it will be a lot easier to expose Carney's failures because he's not that great at hiding them and covering them up. There's also another factor to this, an amazing factor I should say. Jenny Byrne is finally gone. Yes, let's party, come on, let's go, let's celebrate. Jenny Byrne's finally gone. The disastrous campaign will finally be over. So Pierre won't be forced to pussyfoot around important issues like Byrne had him doing before. This is already beginning to show from the press conference he did here in Calgary with the announcement of the Canadian Sovereignty Act.
Thank you. Well, for anyone who has been deemed inadmissible needs to leave, and they need to be deported. Anyone who commits a crime while they're in Canada, they need to be immediately detained, and when their detention is complete, they need to be deported from the country. We need to track down the roughly 600 criminals that the Liberals have lost track of. That means using all our security agencies to find out where they are, to locate them, arrest them, put them on planes, get them out of Canada. We need to make it clear that anyone who commits a hate crime or an act of violence against an identifiable group that is not a citizen and not a permanent resident needs to be deported from this country. We need to get rid of the incentives for people to come here that are not real refugees. So we need a review of all the benefits that go to people who come as asylum claimants to make sure they're not getting more benefits than Canadian taxpayers get. And those that arrive last should be their cases should be treated first so that they know that they'll be leaving quickly. That will get the message back to the country of origin that if you come to Canada and you're not a real refugee, your case will be heard in a few weeks and you'll be back in your own country. That would, right now, there's the opposite incentive. People who are not real refugees come into Canada and they say, well, even if I'm rejected, I'll have 7 or 8 years of appeal, during which time they get all kinds of benefits. If it was very clear that the benefits wouldn't be there, that they would be sent back within a couple of weeks, they wouldn't come in the first place. We need to secure our borders to stop the crossings. And more broadly on immigration, we need to bring way down the numbers of international students, of temporary foreign workers that are flooding our markets with low-wage labor. The big corporations love it because they can drive down wages for Canadian youth who are facing unprecedented unemployment.
Now, I'm not saying this fight will be easy for Poilievre. He still needs to work pretty hard to get the moderates back that flipped Liberal in this election, which shouldn't be too hard with how he was doing up until the federal election, where Byrne made the campaign absolutely crap the bed. Now, the Liberals primarily run their base off of fear. That's what they exploited during the election with Trump and comparing Poilievre to Trump.
Everything is broken.
Everything is broken. Fake news.
Fake news.
The left-wing censorship regime.
Their woke censorship ideology.
Defeating the radical left.
Radical, leftist, authoritarian.
We want those great Canadian truckers to know that we are with them all the way.
I'm proud of the truckers and I stand with them.
Have turned our once great cities into cesspools of bloodshed and crime.
Unleashed a crime wave like we have never seen.
Poilievre couldn't address because Byrne did not want him to touch that with the 10-foot pole because she was way too cautious. With Byrne gone and Pierre finally being able to address this now, That'll put a significant dent into Carney's credibility because fear-mongering is pretty much all he's got going for him at the moment. Come mid-2026 to 2027, I feel like Pierre will be riding high in public opinion again. And with Pierre running in Alberta now, he gets a first-hand taste of the Wexit movement and can directly listen to the concerns of the West, which he has done a fairly good job so far. Now, I don't expect him, unfortunately, to do much about this because that would lose him provinces out east, just to show you how messed up this country is. If you say something good about Alberta, the moderates over there will flip, and it's just a disaster, and we'll be in the exact same spot we're in right now. That brings me to my next segment, what the West's response is to all this. With the 2026 referendum coming up here in Alberta next year, don't be surprised if Western separation is a question on the ballot. The Wexit movement is growing and growing by each passing day, and at this point, that train is going to be hard to stop. The reason behind this is the past 10 years of government overreach brought to you by the Liberal government, executive producer Justin Trudeau, and now Mark Carney, with the blocking of resource projects such as pipelines, mining, and more. Previous Liberal governments have also done a lot to harm the West, but I won't go further into that in this video, as I already have a video coming out on that shortly, either tomorrow or the next day, or maybe next week. It depends upon how much time. I'm very busy this week. But since Carney is doubling down on Ottawa First policies, the West is again feeling ignored, and we have had enough of it. That's why the separatist push is so strong. And Danielle Smith, while still being very much a federalist, is not happy whatsoever with Ottawa's overreach and would support separation if the citizens voted in support of it.
Quebec, for centuries, has been minority, a linguistic minority, cultural, economic minority, but they did something different. They had an or else added to the end of it. How far are you willing to go? Are you willing to say, we want these things or else? At what stage would you, for example, invoke the Clarity Act as clarified by the Supreme Court? For example, calling a referendum on the Clarity Act question of secession. Do you have an or else in mind? What is it, and what would make you use it? And if not, how are you serious? And I'll start off with Danielle Smith on that one.
The or else is Dennis Modry and the Alberta Prosperity Project. It's true. We proclaimed into law on April the 7th the Citizen Initiative Act, which gives the people the power to collect signatures for a petition campaign to propose an amendment. If it's a simple matter of policy, it's a 10% threshold. If it's a constitutional change, it's a 20% threshold. That would mean 600,000 signatures. And as I understand it, Dr. Modry has 1 million people on his database.
Smith has taken several acts against federal overreach, such as the Alberta Sovereignty Act and the Alberta Next Panel, all of which let the citizens decide what's best for the province, and the provincial government listens to them. Overall, if real change isn't made soon, there will be, and already is, a national unity crisis, which the feds need to take seriously or there will be consequences for them. The same is happening in Saskatchewan. And if you think Ottawa is ignoring the West now, wait until you hear how close we are to a serious split, which is next video. Here's where we'll be by 2027, and bank on it. Conservative momentum will be peaking. Liberal fatigue will set in deep, and Western separation will no longer be considered a fringe movement, but a mainstream political force. And the economy, downward spiral, courtesy of Carney's Ottawa First policies. Now, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. That really helps the channel. We're pretty small right now, but I'm going to be doing more political videos on municipal topics leading up to the Calgary general election here, the municipal election. And again, go follow us on Rumble, our very new Rumble channel. It's very cool. I can speak freely on there, and we will have Rumble exclusive videos coming out pretty soon, but those will only be once or twice a month. And again, go follow all my socials over here, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good one. And one last thing before I wrap up. If you live in Calgary and are of voting age, vote for Sonia Sharp. She is the only Conservative candidate who is going to cut taxes and fund the police and fund all our essential services and put Calgary back into a place where we could be stable again. And if you live in Ward 6, vote for Joanne Burrs. She's the only one who will give our ward a voice in City Hall and talk on the issues that matter. All links will be in the description for you to go support them. And no, I'm not sponsored or told to do this. It's just who I support, although I have personally met Joanne. Anyways, have a good one.